My name's Elias. I'm 27, and I've always been the quiet one in my family. Not the black sheep exactly, but not exactly included. Growing up, I learned early that silence was safer. My parents, especially my mom, had a way of rewriting history if you argued. If you were upset, you were moody. If you disagreed, you were ungrateful. So I adapted. I let my brother, Jonah, golden boy, charming, always on, shine. I let my younger twin sisters, Mia and Grace, take center stage. And I stayed in the background, helping where I could, but never loud enough to be seen. Until last month, I didn't think much about it. Not until I walked into the kitchen and saw the itinerary. It was sitting on the printer tray, slightly curled at the edge like it had just finished printing. My name wasn't on it. 5 airline tickets. Round trip to Santorini. 3 hotel rooms. 1 week. My family's dream vacation. The one we'd been talking about for over a year. The one I helped plan. I paid the €11,300 deposit on my app because I was the only one with enough credit at the time. I didn't even hesitate. They promised to pay me back. Mom said, "Just book it, Eli. We'll settle everything after your dad's bonus comes in." But there it was, in black and white, 5 names. Mom, Dad, Jonah, Mia, Grace. Not me. At first, I genuinely thought it was a mistake. A technical glitch. I mean, I'd sent the booking link. I'd picked the rooms. I'd even arranged the airport transport. There was no way they forgot me. I snapped a photo of the itinerary and sent it to the family group chat. No caption. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. At the 15-minute mark, Mom finally replied. "We thought you backed out. You've been so moody lately, honey." That was it. No apology. No, "Oh my God, what?" No, "Let me check. Maybe there was a mix-up." Just passive-aggressive emotional deflection, like always. As if this was somehow my fault. I didn't respond. Not immediately. I just sat there at the kitchen table, phone in hand, blinking. The fridge was humming. The air was still. And the longer I stared at that text, the more it all started clicking into place. The side comments at dinner the week before. "Well, if you even come," Jonah had said, laughing. Grace had asked, "Do you even like beaches?" Mia mentioned how it might be nice to just have a trip without any tension for once. I'd assumed they were just being their usual selves. Turns out, they were prepping for something bigger. Still, I wanted to be wrong. I told myself maybe they had another booking under my name. Maybe a surprise. Maybe, God knows why, I was overreacting. I texted Dad. "Hey, did you mean to leave me off the itinerary?" No reply. Send a second message. "Can you check your email for the booking confirmation?" Nothing. An hour passed. Then, right as I was closing my laptop, a voice note popped up on my phone. Jonah. I could tell it wasn't meant for me because the first thing he said was, "Bro, you should have seen Mom's face when she hit send." She was like, "He's gonna flip when he sees the photos." Then a laugh. "It's about time we had a real vacation, man. Just us." Then another voice, maybe Mia's. "He's probably sulking right now. You know how he gets." I stared at the waveform bouncing on my screen. The air knocked out of me like someone had slammed a door on my chest. That wasn't a mistake. That wasn't a miscommunication. That was intentional. I didn't even realize I'd been holding my breath. I tapped the mic and replied, "Enjoy." Then I opened my travel app. Everything was still there. The hotel booking, the flight confirmation, the paid invoices. All under my account. My credit card. My name. I hadn't transferred the bookings yet. I'd planned to finalize the split this week, after we'd firmed up the meal add-ons. I was supposed to send them their individual confirmation numbers today. Instead, I hit cancel. The app prompted me. "Are you sure you want to cancel all 6 reservations? This action cannot be undone." I clicked yes. Room by room. Ticket by ticket. The hotel sent an email confirmation within minutes. So did the airline. The full cancellation amount was returned to my account within seconds. Thankfully, refundable packages. All that remained was silence. Until 6:41 a.m. the next morning. My phone lit up like a Christmas tree. 102 missed calls. The first one was from Mom. The second from Dad. Then Jonah. Then Mia. Then Grace. A few from unknown numbers. Likely the airport driver or some frantic concierge. My notifications were a scroll of chaos. Voicemails. Texts. Panicked emojis. Some angry, some confused. And then another voice note. From Mom this time. Her voice sharp, on the verge of cracking. "Elias, what did you do? We're stranded." The hotel says there's no record of our booking. The airline says the tickets were refunded. What are you thinking? Call me now. I didn't. Instead, I sat up in bed, turned my phone on silent, and looked out the window. The sky was still dark, quiet, peaceful, and for the first time in what felt like years, so was I. Because what they didn't know, what they never bothered to ask, was that I had made a second reservation. Just one room, one ticket, same dates, same destination. Except this time, the name on the itinerary was mine, and mine alone. And that's when my doorbell rang. I froze. The doorbell wasn't aggressive, not pounding, just persistent. Like whoever it was had no intention of leaving. My mind raced. Had someone driven back from the airport? Was it Jonah? He lived closest. Or maybe Mom sent a neighbor over, some kind of guilt-laced ambush. My heart thudded once, then again, heavier. I tucked my phone under my pillow and stood quietly by the bedroom door, listening. Nothing. Then the chime again. 2 short presses this time. I crept down the hallway, not breathing. I peered through the peephole. It was Leo. Not family. A friend. My only real friend. He held up 2 paper coffee cups and raised an eyebrow. I opened the door. You look like you haven't slept, he said, stepping inside. I brought the good stuff. Why are you here? I asked, still trying to connect reality to everything in my head. He handed me a coffee and sat down on the edge of my couch. Your mom called mine, he said simply. Something about a family emergency at the airport and needing someone to talk sense into you. My mom knows better. She just gave me the message. I laughed, but it didn't feel funny. It felt like someone else's laugh. Of course she did. Leo looked at me for a second, his eyes scanning. So, what happened? I didn't answer right away. I took a sip instead. I didn't need to tell him everything. He'd seen enough over the years. The family vacations I was too busy to attend, the birthdays they forgot, the Christmas photos I took instead of being in. But I told him anyway. About the printed itinerary, the missing name, the voice note, the cancellation. He listened, quiet, not even interrupting when I paused for too long. When I finally finished, he leaned back and let out a low whistle. They really left you out on purpose. That's cold. Yeah, I said. But you know what's worse? What? They weren't going to tell me. They were going to let me find out through photos. He shook his head slowly, like he was still trying to wrap his head around it. So what now? I picked up my phone and opened my email. Now? Now I go to Santorini. Leo raised a brow. You're still going? Why not? I already paid for it. And it's refundable. Well, was. I rebooked. Just one room. Just me. Damn, he said, then smirked. You're going to be sipping espresso by the beach while they're stuck at the terminal yelling at each other. I shrugged. Let them. Maybe they'll figure out how to be a family without someone holding it all together. I tapped my phone, scrolling through the unread messages. Mom had sent 4 more voice notes. One of them started with, Elias, be reasonable, and I didn't bother playing the rest. Jonah had written in all caps, dude, what is wrong with you? And Grace, my sweet, manipulative sister, had gone full melodrama. We thought we'd surprise you. You were going to be the big reveal. Why would you do this to us? The big reveal? Sure. If the reveal was a group photo captioned, wish you were here. Leo noticed my expression. You okay? I'm not mad, I said. That's the scary part. I thought I'd be furious. I thought I'd throw something or scream or, I don't know, do something dramatic. But I'm just done. I don't care what excuse they give. Because there's nothing left to say, he replied, nodding. Exactly. By 9 a.m., the calls slowed. The rage had probably turned to damage control. I imagined them frantically trying to rebook flights, realizing the summer season prices had doubled. I imagined Mom blaming Dad. Dad yelling at Jonah. Grace crying about her ruined vacation. Mia calling me selfish. The same old cycle. This time, I wasn't in it. Around noon, I packed. I didn't overthink it. Just a suitcase, my passport, sunglasses, and the bare essentials. I left a note for my neighbor to water the plants. Booked a ride to the airport. Texted Leo a quick thanks. And he gave me a half hug on the way out with a laugh. Send me a picture with a drink in hand and your middle finger raised, yeah? I smiled. You'll get it. The airport was quiet. Peaceful. I arrived 3 hours early. Not because I had to, but because I could. I had no one else to wait for. No group check-in. No frantic mom organizing passports. No dad double-checking every bag. Just me, my boarding pass, and silence. Right before security, I checked my phone one last time. One new voicemail from Dad. I hesitated, then played it. His voice was calm, measured. Elias. Son, listen, I don't know what happened, but your mother's in a bit of a state right now. I'd appreciate it if you'd call me back. We need to figure out what to do. You still have the booking, right? Maybe we can. Click. I didn't listen to the rest. I turned my phone off. And when I stepped onto that plane, window seat, no interruptions, no guilt trips, I felt something I hadn't in years. Freedom. But what I didn't expect was what was waiting for me on the third night in Santorini. The first 2 days were everything I needed. I arrived late, just as the sun was dipping behind the sea. The sky was a ridiculous orange-pink that looked like it had been photoshopped by someone who didn't understand restraint. My room was perched on a cliffside, white walls, stone floor, balcony overlooking the Aegean. The air smelled like salt and jasmine. It was quiet. Blissfully, achingly quiet. I checked in, unpacked half-heartedly, then sat on the balcony with a glass of wine I didn't even remember ordering, just watching the ocean blink under the stars. No phone, no guilt, no drama. The next morning, I walked through cobbled alleys and took pictures of blue-domed churches. A man in a linen shirt offered me grilled octopus from his family's cafe, and I ended up staying there 2 hours. He talked about his daughters. I said almost nothing. I was happy just to listen. I spent that afternoon sprawled across a sunbed, book in hand, feet in the pool, forgetting, truly forgetting, that back home, there were 5 people spinning in chaos, trying to undo the consequences of their choices. By the second night, I had a tan I didn't deserve and a calm I hadn't known in years. I journaled, something I hadn't done since college. Just scribbles, stream of consciousness stuff. I wrote about the silence, about how I'd spent my whole life being useful, not loved, not appreciated, just convenient. The wallet, the planner, the emotional sponge. I never realized how heavy it all was until I let it go. Then came night 3. I'd just gotten back from a long dinner by the water, stuffed with pasta, drowsy from wine. I took off my sandals at the door and flicked on the lights. My room looked the same, tidy, untouched, until I saw the envelope on the table. It was hotel stationery. No name, no handwriting, just an envelope, blank, placed neatly beside the fruit bowl. I froze. I hadn't told anyone where I was staying. Not Leo, not coworkers, definitely not my family. I'd booked this hotel late at night, after recanceling the first one, paid anonymously through a virtual card. My name wasn't even tied to the front desk, just the confirmation code and a check-in alias, Elias. I chose it on impulse. Salas, Latin for alone. Fitting. So how did this envelope get here? I picked it up carefully and opened it. Inside was a single folded sheet of paper, ripped at the edge like it had been torn from a notepad. 3 words, written in rushed, messy blue ink. Meet me downstairs. No signature. No time. Nothing else. I stared at it for a full minute, heart thudding like a metronome under my ribs. Was this a joke? A hotel mix-up? Room service trying to be dramatic? Or, no, I knew. I just didn't want to admit it yet. I left the note on the table and stepped out onto the balcony. From where I stood, I had a view of the courtyard below, dim lights, soft music playing from the lounge. A few guests sat around with cocktails, chatting softly. Everything looked normal, until I saw the woman in the red shawl. She wasn't talking, just pacing. Pacing. Every few seconds, she'd check her phone, look around, take a few steps, stop, do it again. The movement was too familiar. The posture, the way she kept tugging at her sleeve like it was suffocating her. It was Mom. My stomach dropped. I didn't move. I didn't wave. I didn't even breathe. I just stood frozen behind the white stone railing, watching her search for me in a place she was never meant to be. And then my phone buzzed. Just once. A text. From a number I didn't recognize. Please. Just 5 minutes. I'm not here to fight. I should have turned around. I should have closed the door, pulled the curtain, and gone to bed. Let her wear holes into the floor with her pacing. But I didn't. Something about the stillness of the moment, the way the sea murmured behind me, the way the note shook slightly in my hand from the breeze. I needed to hear what she came to say. Not for her sake. For mine. I slipped on my sandals and walked out of the room. The hallway was quiet. The air felt heavier the closer I got to the elevator. When the doors opened on the ground floor, I saw her instantly. Still pacing. Still checking her phone. She turned and froze. We stared at each other for a second that felt longer than it should have. Her face was flushed, eyes tired, hair pulled back in a way that told me she didn't do it for photos. Not this time. Elias, she said, her voice cracking. I didn't respond. She took a tentative step forward. Can we sit? No, I said flatly. Her eyes welled, but she nodded. Okay, standing's fine. We stood like two strangers outside a hotel neither of us belonged in. She took a deep breath. I didn't know Jonah sent that voice note. I didn't mean for it to happen that way. I blinked slowly. But it did happen that way. I thought if we had the trip without tension, without fighting, we could reset. Reconnect. I laughed once, sharp and humorless. By excluding me? She winced. You've been so distant lately. You don't talk. You shut yourself in. I wonder why. Her voice faltered. It's not easy being a mother. And it's not easy being the kid who's always an afterthought. She opened her mouth, closed it again, like the words wouldn't come. Maybe they never existed. Then she said something I didn't expect. You're right. That stopped me. She reached into her bag, pulled out something folded, a document, maybe a letter. She held it out with both hands. This is for you. It explains everything. Or it tries to. I didn't take it. I just stared. Why are you really here? I asked. She hesitated. Because your father's furious. Because the girls are crying. Because Jonah's yelling at the airline staff. Because no one can figure out how to fix this. And she swallowed. Because you're the only one who ever could. That was the moment I realized something truly heartbreaking. She hadn't come to apologize. She'd come to recruit me. Again. Always. Just like every holiday, every emergency, every broken pipe, every forgotten password. I was the fixer. The dependable one. The human glue stick holding a cracked picture frame together. And I'd finally dropped it. I didn't say anything. I just turned and walked past her, toward the elevator. She didn't follow. But as the door slid shut, I saw her still standing there, envelope in hand, lips pressed together, staring like she was seeing me for the first time. And maybe, in a way, she was. I didn't open the envelope. Not that night. Not the next morning. Not even after I packed my bags on day 7 and boarded the flight back to Berlin. It stayed in my suitcase the whole time, wedged between a damp towel and the leftover sunscreen I never used. I kept thinking I'd get curious. That maybe I'd rip it open halfway through the flight, just to pass the time. Or that I'd cave once I was back home, slouched on the couch with nothing to distract me. But I didn't. Because deep down, I knew what was in it. Justifications. Maybe a few watery apologies, wrapped in excuses. A signature at the bottom. A fresh version of the story where everyone tried their best, where no one meant harm, and where, somehow, I was still supposed to come back. But I wasn't coming back. Not in the way they wanted. When I landed, Leo was waiting at baggage claim. He didn't ask questions, just handed me a warm pretzel and a water bottle and said, I figured you'd need these more than a hug. He was right. We drove in silence for a while, until he finally broke it. Did she show up? I nodded. Third night. Did she yell? Nope. He glanced over. That's worse. I didn't answer. I just watched the buildings blur past. Familiar streets. Familiar skyline. But everything felt different. Not because the city had changed, but because I had. Over the next few weeks, the storm I left behind followed me home. It started small, Mom called. Twice a day at first. Then once. Then not at all. I never picked up. The messages varied. Some were calm, pleading. Others, accusatory. You humiliated us. You always overreact. You're not being fair to your sisters. Then came Jonah's messages, a little less diplomatic. His texts were blistering. Accusations layered over sarcasm. Hope Santorini was worth burning your bridges. Guess we're not family anymore. The irony? None of them offered to pay me back. Not for the flights. Not for the hotel. Not for the mess they left behind. Apparently, my punishment for pulling the plug was also footing the bill. And I was fine with that. It cost me over 11,000 euros to finally buy my peace. Best money I've ever spent. Mia tried a different tactic. She showed up at my apartment one Saturday morning, standing in the hallway with a bouquet of peonies, my favorite. I wanted to talk, she said softly. Just talk. I didn't open the door. I stood behind it, arms crossed, listening. Mia, I said, what do you want to talk about? She hesitated. You hurt Mom. Mom hurt me. I know, she said, but she's still Mom. I sighed. That's exactly the problem. There was a long pause. Then, a quiet. We miss you. No, you miss what I did for you. Another pause. She didn't deny it. I have to go, I said. Don't come here again. She left the flowers at the door. I gave them to the woman downstairs with the two cats and a smile too big for her age. She looked like someone who'd actually appreciate them. 2 days later, I got a group email. Subject line, family reunion? From Dad. It was a rambling note about reconciliation and healing old wounds. An invitation to spend a weekend together in the countryside, just us, like things could be normal again. I clicked archive without reading the rest. I was done pretending that normal was good enough. Instead, I focused on building something new. I started cooking, properly, not just heat and eat. Real meals. Dishes I remembered from my grandmother's kitchen before things got complicated. Leo came over on Thursdays for pasta and movie nights. I even joined a local hiking group. Not because I liked hiking, I didn't, but because I liked being around people who didn't already have a version of me in their heads. I learned to be alone without feeling lonely. I slept better. I smiled more. Eventually, the calls stopped. The messages faded. My mother unfollowed me on social media, and for the first time, it didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a gift. Months passed, and then, one cloudy morning in October, I opened the envelope. I don't know why. Maybe curiosity finally won. Maybe I just needed closure. Or maybe I already had it and didn't realize. The letter was handwritten. 2 pages. It started with, I know I'm not good at saying sorry. Which, if you think about it, is a pretty terrible way to start an apology. She wrote about how overwhelmed she was. How she wanted the trip to be perfect. How she thought excluding me would ease tension and let the others breathe. She claimed it wasn't personal, just strategic. Strategic. Like I was a landmine she had to plan around. There was a line that stuck with me, though. One that felt almost honest. You've always made things look easy, Elias. So easy that we forgot you needed things too. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was truth. And maybe that was enough. I folded the letter, slid it back into the envelope, and tucked it away. Not to keep, but to remind myself that closure isn't always about hearing, I'm sorry. Sometimes it's just understanding why it happened, so you can finally let it go. Today, I live differently. I don't answer calls from numbers I don't recognize. I don't loan money I'm not willing to never see again. I say no, even when it makes people uncomfortable. And I don't go where I'm not wanted. Because family, I've learned, isn't just the people who share your blood. It's the people who don't weaponize your silence. It's the ones who invite you, not because they need you to fix something, but because they want you there. Santorini was supposed to be the breaking point. But in a way, it became the beginning. An €11,300 lesson in knowing your worth. And I paid in full.